In this video, we would be learning about basic input and output in CPP. I'll be focusing mainly on the input because we've been using cout,tout a lot. We've been using the output a lot. Yeah, so we'll be focusing on the how to input data into a program, how to get a user, or how to request data from a user, right? So let's get to it. So right now, the first thing I want to talk about is the essence of IOStream here. So this is a library over here, as we have already talked about, I think, in the first video. This is a preprocessor. So what this does is it loads the IOStream library, and it is this library that enables us to output and then get input. So basically, we've been using the cout. This is a method under that library. So this allows us to output data. This is the standard output stream, right? So there are four basic streams that C++ offers. They are the cin, that's the standard input stream, and then the cout, which is the standard output stream. We have the cerr, standard error stream, and this is also an output stream as well. And then the clog, which is standard logging stream. This is an output one, of course. But then we'll be focusing on cin the major one is going to be cin with a minor focus on cout. We would not be looking at these two in this video, so just get to the first one, which is the cin. And what this allows us to do is it allows the input of data into the program. Yeah, so you can request data from the user while the program is running, right? And then format stream extraction operator, right? And this is the format stream extraction operator. We'll get to know it when we start. So now I will start by first writing a code without displaying the message. Okay, right. So how do we get to request data from the user? Now we use the cin stream, and that's by using cin, and then note the sign of these ones. The cout is always, the signs are always less than, but for the cin they are greater than. This is what we call the extraction operator. It extracts whatever input the user will be given to this line to a variable. It extracts that data and then assigns it to a variable, right? So you use cin with two greater than signs, and then you put your variable in here, right? So that it will be assigned to that variable. So since we'll be assigning to a variable, that means we have to create one. We have to declare one so that we have a ready variable to assign to. Now, based on the data type that you are expecting, maybe you are asking for the age of the user, or you're asking for data from the user which demands that they input a double number or a decimal number, which would be a double data type, or they input a whole number, which is going to be an integer data type. So that would depend on the kind of variable to create. So let's just say that we are expecting a number. So we just use int, and we call this variable a, right? So after that, we then come over here, and when we get the input, then we assign it to this variable. So that's it. The first thing you need to do is to create a variable, a ready room for the data that would be coming. Then you write this code to get that data, so that this would extract that data and then assign it to a, right? So let's just run this and then see what happens. So shift B is my shortcut to build and run. So as you can see, nothing is displayed over here. So when we just type in, I'm just typing in the 6 and then enter, we see that nothing happens, and then the program finishes, right? Now I would like to prove that this variable was assigned to a. So what I can do is I can print out this a, and note the sign of these operators. I used the two less than signs because I am outputting. That's the out, right? So I would output a, right? So I'll just make it a string a like this, and then a, right? So we run this, and then I input 89, enter. Then we see that a is now 89. So this data that I entered got assigned to this, right? Now, in a way, how we can modify this program is I just entered 89, I just entered a number. How can the user know that he or she is to enter a number or what kind of data to input? So what we can do over here is to use a print statement before this extraction line, right? So let's say I want to ask for the age of the user, right, which is going to be an integer. So I can print out, please enter your age, right? So the user would know that, oh, I'm to enter a number and not any other string or any other letter or something like that, right? So we run this and then we get it assigned to a. So we can even name this integer age and then come down here and say age, and then we come down and print your age is age, right? Right, so this is what the program will do. It will print out your ages and then this value that was assigned to the variable age, and that is basically what the user inputted. So let's run this and see what will be returned. So please enter your age, and I am 78. Press enter. Your age is 78, right? So that's how to go about this, getting user input and then displaying it. Right. Now the next thing is requesting consecutive data input. So I'll go ahead and then comment out all of this. Right. So now we want to request consecutive data input. So let's say that we are creating two variables because we want to create room for whatever data we'll be having. And these ones, I'm going to use an example where they would enter ages as well. Right. So I'll create a variable age 1 and then age 2, right? So I've declared them and then I would output the message cout enter your age and your friends. Or let me do it this way so we kind of get an intuition. So I would cout this, enter your age, and then the person would enter their age and would pick that value and then assign it to age 1, right? Then we display the message cout enter your friends. So what this would do is it would output the message enter your friend's age, and then we would get this data that the person would input and assign it to age 2. Then what we can do finally is we can decide to print this out, that your age is age 1 and your friends is age 2. So what we did over here is we created two variables to store our data that we'll be having, and then we displayed this message enter your age, and the user enters his or her age. Then we pick that age and extract that data and assign it to the first variable age 1. Then we display another message enter your friend's age, and then he or she enters another number and we extract it and then assign it to age 2. Then after that we just print out the statement, the sentence your age is age and your friends is this. So let's run this and I hope no error occurs. Whoop. Okay, so I should reverse these signs, and these are common errors, right? So these signs, I just reverse them. So we run this again. I hope there will be no mistake, right? So enter your age. I don't like this representation, so let me just enter your age. I need a colon over there and then a colon over there. So we run this again, and now we have enter your age 67, enter your friends 89. Your age is 67 and your friends is 89, right? So you can see that this is joined. So what we can do is we can just separate, we can put a space here, rerun this, enter your age 56, your friend 78, and your age is 56 and your friends is 70, right? So this is one way to get it. Now another way is we can just put it in one sentence, enter your age and your friends, right? So that means that the user will be inputting two values. Then after that, what we can do is we can assign it in on one line, right, to age 1 and age 2, this way without these two lines, and then it's going to work the same. So what we just did here is now we outputted just a single message enter your age and your friends. So from this, the intuition is that the user is supposed to enter two values. And when you enter the first value, you can leave a space and a second and enter the second one, or you can use a tab as well. Since there is a space between the two data that you inputted, the program would automatically get the first one as the one before the space, and then the second one will be the one after the space. So let's run this. You'll kind of get more understanding from the output, right? So enter your age and your friends, and I enter 67 space 89, enter. Your age is 67 and your friends is 89. So it took the first value 67 and assigned it to age 1, and then the second value 89 I assigned it to age 2, right? Let me just put a colon here and rerun this, and now note what I am going to do over here. I am entering 67, this, enter, enter. You can see that it is still expecting a second value. So that means that I'm still within the first one. I've not yet entered any second value. So this is the space between the first and the second. And the moment I enter the second value and I run it, then I get your age is this number and your friends is 4. So the spacing is what differentiates the values, right? So let's just close this and rerun it, and I'll use the tab in this case. So I enter 56 whatever, and I press enter. Sorry, I should have used the tab. So let's go ahead and rerun this again. So 78 tab 89, right? Your age is 78 and your friends is 89, right? So you can use the tab as well to kind of get this data. Good. So that's how to get consecutive data input, and it can even be 3. Let's try that. Let's say your friends and your mother's, anything. So we create a third one here called h3. We come over here and have h3, right? Then we come over here and your friend is this. We can even come to the next line. So let's put an end statement over here, end line, and come to the next one, cout your mother's. Right, so let's run this and I hope no error occurs. Good. So I'm entering 78 space 90 tab this. Run it. Your age is 78, your friends is 90, your mother's is this, right? So this works as well. Good. So let's just go ahead and comment out all of this. Okay, so now we'll go ahead to the next section, and which is requesting string data input from the user. It's not just integers that we can request from the user. So let's say right now I want to request for the name of the user's favorite fruit, right? So what I can do is I should create a variable, and it's going to be a string, and so we want to call it fav fruit. So we just declared it, and then we print the message, what is your favorite fruit, right? And we want to end it with semicolon, and then we want to get that data that the user would be entering and assign it to favorite fruit. And then after that we want to print out, so you do like fav fruit also, right? So let's go ahead and run this and see what will happen. Shift B, and we see the message, what is your favorite fruit? Let me just go ahead and enter orange, right? Enter. So you do like orange also. So should be a space over there, right? So what is your favorite fruit? Orange. And it picks that and assign it to favorite fruit. Then after that, so you do like orange also, right? So that's the output. Now let's say that I want to ask for the name of the user, right? So what I can do is I should create a variable called name, right? Then after that, I would ask the user, what is your full name? I go ahead and clear this, and then I want to assign it to name, not favorite. So name over there, and then we want to print out a message. Hi. So hi name, right? So that's what we want to do. So go ahead and run this and let's see what will happen. So I enter my name, comprehensive tutorial. Press enter and it says hi comprehensive. Now it did not pick the tutorial, it just picked hi comprehensive. Let's go ahead and include 3 words, 4 words to see what will happen. So I'll just put an exclamation mark over here and I want to make it a character, right? So let's go ahead, rerun it. We have what is your full name. I want to enter comprehensive tutorial on YouTube. Enter. And still it's just hi comprehensive. And these ones were not used. We can fix this by using the get line method. Now what this will do is it will pick everything that the user enters in a row, right? Everything, and then assign it to the variable. And before we can use this, we have to include a preprocessor definition over here. And this can be done by using include, and it's called the S stream. We put it in these two closing signs, less than and greater than. So it's called the S stream, right? Before we can use the get line. So you come up here and include the S stream, and then we go ahead and then continue with whatever we want to do, right? So when we create the variable for the name and then we output the message, what is your name? Then the user would want to enter a data. And what we want to do is want to get line, and then this is this is the syntax. Then you write in cin comma, and then the variable you want to assign it to, name, with a semicolon over there. And then we go ahead and clear this. All right. So let's go over this again. This is what we know already. This is the only difference. So what this will do is the user will enter a series of words, and the get line would get that series of words and assign it to the variable name. So then it would output cout hi, and whatever string list of words, whatever that was in that name would be printed. So let's go ahead and run this. And then we have comprehensive tutorial, right? Enter. Hi comprehensive tutorial, right? So it doesn't matter how many words you enter, is going to output all of those because it's your name, right? So this is something. Now you can remember that in a previous video we were converting from one data type to another, where if you have an integer a, no, let's say float, because that's uh, quite understandable. So I have a float a and it's equal to 7.8, right? And then I have an integer b. Now what I can do is I can convert this float to an integer, right? Then I want to initialize it by saying b is equal to int, and I put the float in parentheses and then run this. Let's print it out to be sure of what we have. So I'll be printing out b, and we run this, and we should be getting a 7 because it will convert 7.8 to an integer 7, right? So that's how to convert float to integer. And when you convert an integer to a float, it's basically going to be of the same value, but just that the data type will change, right? And we explained that in the previous video. Now we want to convert strings to integers, right? So how can we go about this? Let's say that I want to get the total price I will be paying. A user will be paying by requesting for the amount of the product and the number of product, the units that the user is going to get. So first of all, want to create, let's just use doubles because prices can sometimes be decimated. So let's say double is price. We'll be having a second one which is going to be called quantity. Then after that, we want to output a message, cout, enter cost of the item, right? So the user would enter with a semicolon here, and then what we want to do is we want to assign it to the price. So we use cin and then to price. So this is the price of the product. Then we want to output a second message that enter the quantity, right, with a semicolon to make it presentable. Then we want to get that value and then assign it to quantity, right? And then we then want to print cout total price to pay is, and then we want to have price times price times quantity, right? We can even put dollars over here. Good. So let's go ahead and run this, and we have enter cost of item, let's say 45, and then enter the quantity. I need 4, so that should be sorry. Right, so that's 180. Total price to pay is $180 over there, right? So this is quite easy. Good. So what if the user enters a value like, let's run this, and we have 3 space 5, we enter. So right now, after I pressed the enter, it automatically substituted, assigned the 5 to quantity, and then multiplied that by 3, and I got 15. It did not wait for the second value, right? It just automatically filled it out for me because I entered 2 values over here, right? This can be an unexpected or unwanted occurrence. In programs, we usually want the running to be predicted. You want to kind of make room for every error and for every possibility, right? In the future, we can use if and conditionals to check that the user does the right thing, the user enters the right thing. But before we get to the if and conditional statements, let's use one that allows us to kind of have control over what the user does and have control over the data the user inputs. So with that, we can use the string stream to change a string to an integer or a string to a number that we can have, right? And we can see that when the user input the space over there, it made the program run in a way that we did not want. So to check this, we can use the getLine method that we have used already, right? So how do we go about it? After we output the message enter cost of the item, then we use the getLine over here with brackets, then with cn, and then we assign this to the price with a semicolon here. Then we clear this one, and then we output the message enter the quantity. And what we can do over here is we can use the getLine again, and then with cn and assign it to quantity, right, with a semicolon. Don't forget that. We clear this output over here, we clear this line over here. So we go ahead and run this to see what will happen. And when we run this, we get an error over here at line 77, which says no matching function for call to get line, right? So now we can see that this get line is for strings. We came over here when we wanted to use the strings to get the line of it. This was when it became necessary. So get line is only for string data inputs. So we can't have a double over here. This has to be a string for the program to be able to run. So let's change this to string and then run it and see what happens. Right over here it says no match for operator, operand types, this and all of this. Now you should know that strings can't be multiplied unless integers or unless doubles or floats, which can be multiplied this way. This operation does not apply to strings. So how can we get over this hurdle? Now that's where the string stream comes in. So we can get the data that the user is entering as a string and then convert it to numbers so that we can use it over here. So this is how to go about it. We just clear this and then leave our originals as doubles, as double. And then we create a second variable called string. Let's call it raw input. And then over here, the user enter the cost of the item. Then the user enters. And what do we do? Then we come over here and then change this to raw input, because after we get that, we have to assign it to raw input. So take note, we have created two variables, price and quantity, and a third one called raw input. We output this message for the user to enter the cost of the item. We got this message and then assigned it to raw input. So this is currently a string. So then we want to convert the string to a number so that we can work with. And that's where the string stream comes in. So string stream, and then we want to convert raw input to what? To price. Simple. Right, so we use the string stream with, in parentheses, what do we want to convert? We want to convert raw input to what? And this converts it to the price, which is going to be a number. Then we come ahead and then output the message, enter the quantity. After they enter the quantity, we want to assign it to raw input. So that is kind of a container for temporarily holding the data before we process it. And then we use the string stream as well again. String stream to convert raw input to whatever we want. We want to assign it to quantity. Right. Then we go ahead and run this and it should give us the same output. So let's run it now and see. So shift B. And now we have enter cost of item $100. Enter the quantity. I need 7. Right. So total price to pay is $700. Right. So this was working perfectly. And the hurdle we wanted to overcome is the space. Now let's see if this works out. So shift B. Shift B. Enter the cost of item 6 space 7. Enter. Enter the quantity 8 space 9. Enter. And the total price to pay is 48. So we can see that it printed 6 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. It totally ignored the second input, but at least it gave us the option to enter the second quantity, the second variable. Right, but this is not total control. But then you should know that it is good practice to always have control over the data that the user types. It's bad practice to take raw input like the input from CN and directly use it in your program. It's bad practice to use data that you directly acquire from here, but it's good practice to acquire it and then process it, check it for certain conditions. If they meet it, then you use it in the program. If not, you get unexpectancies. So this gives us a little bit of control over the data that we get from the user. We can have more control when we learn conditionals and other things in the future to kind of ensure that the user enters the right thing. Now let's move on to the next aspect, which is string stream cannot be used ordinarily. Right, so this is something I want you guys to take note of. So I'll go ahead and comment out this and then we talk about that. Let's say I have a string and the name of the string is A and I'm just storing, let's say 678 whatever. So this is a string. Now I want to convert it to an integer, right? So then I use the string stream. And what do I want to convert? I want to convert string A to what variable? Let's say variable B. But first I have to create that variable called int B, right? So I have my integer room to store the value after conversion. So let's go ahead and print out B, right? So shift B would run the code, right? So just not just under the scope of inputs, you can use it directly, you can call it directly within the program, right? So this is how to do it. And now we move to the cout, and the cout is, we have been using it, so I don't really need to talk much on it. So this outputs data on, it outputs data, right? So wherever you want to output the data, whether on the screen, through the speakers, or any other output device, but basically it's always the screen, and that's where we get to see what we have processed. But then we can output audio as well, and I think we did that with an example with this \a character when we were looking at more on operators in that video. So let's say that we have a character that we want to, let's say we have a string hey, and then I have this escape character a. When I run this, I will get hey output on the screen and then with a sound output as well. So this is what the cout is used for. It's used for outputting data that we have in the program onto any output device that you want it. If it's sound, through the speakers; if it is characters or text, then through the screen. So let's go ahead and run this. And there is an error over here. So it says whoops, and this is because I used the wrong sign. Take note of that. It's common error. Now we run this and we have hey with a sound. I'm using a headset right now. I don't know if you have heard it, but you can go ahead and try it. You get a sound output, right? So that is it for the cout as well. We will not be talking for the CERR and the C log, right? So that's it for this video. Hope it helped to explain certain concepts. Stay safe and see you in the next tutorial.